Hey, today is the day, number 25, live stream track feedback. It's going down. We have about 15 submissions right now. I'm accepting 5 more. Submissions will close after that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We are going down. You can submit in my Discord, which will be in the description below. Otherwise, let's check out what we got going down today. So, 15 submissions. I'll open up the Discord so we can actually see submitted here. And I will be giving track feedback. We'll basically be going over mix down, song structure, loudness levels, things like that. Of course, flow. First submission is going to be by Ritual, and this is called AI. You already know what's going down. We are in the future as of now. AI. Let's see what's good.
Dead center of the greatest scientific event in the history of man. How do you feel about it?
AI is beyond doubt.
No, nothing analytical.
You want me, my friend? Will it be possible? You shouldn't trust anything he said. Today, I'm going to test you. Is it strange to have made someone that hates you? There's something I want to show you.
Okay, all right. Now this is pretty decent. I must say, this is not super high energy level. Really, this is more of like dancing in halftime the whole time, dancing like this instead of dancing like this. The reason is because it's just slower flow, right? And when we get to like this section, it kind of builds up to this section and we're expecting a drop here, but we don't get a drop. It's actually like a intermission and then the drop happens at this section. So the song structure feels very awkward. If the drop was over here, it would definitely make sense. Also, the song, like during the drop sections, is very mono. There's not a lot of stereo information. So you could definitely make it sound more full and, more psychedelic if you had both stereo and mono playing at the same time. Plus, that would fix the issue of this song not being loud enough. For the loudness levels, we're only coming in at like a -11. It's really sounding soft and low intensity. It's sounding like an old 2008, 2007 dubstep song. And I'm not saying that's bad, but if you're trying to, play these at the clubs and play these at the festivals, people's ears have been tuned to very loud frequencies and very high energy levels that this would, in comparison, sound low intensity. You want to make sure that you adjust the mix down, adjust your flow accordingly so that you can make people dance more. This is electronic dance music. And I can tell by your drums and your sound design that is what you're kind of shooting for. So you're going to want to do that. There's a melody that plays during this, like dun, dun.
Today, I'm going to test you.
This melody plays over and over, very repetitive throughout the whole song. So just add some simple variation to some of the phrases in that melody. It'd make a huge difference. And keeping the listener engaged. It would be awesome. Otherwise, keep working on it. You'll be able to make something dope out of that easily. All right, cool. Next, we got the boy Hollow, who submitted Blasphemy. Final version. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get down with the get down. Listen to what Hollow has got in store for us today.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening on the Wilmot Farm, Groversville, New Jersey. We now return you to Carl Phillips at Groversville.
Ladies and gentlemen, more state police have arrived and drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. Studying the object while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. There's something happening. It's there. Get his brain springs in the mirror and it runs his back to men. Strike them head on.
Swell on out of there.
We now return you to Carl Phillips at Groversville.
Ladies and gentlemen, more state police have arrived and drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. Studying the object while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. There's something happening. Get the brain springs in the mirror and it runs his back to men. Strike them head on.
All right, there we go. Getting down. That is Hollow coming in super hot with Blasphemy. Final. Hollow's been going hard in the VC. He's been making them tear out things, and it's nice to see. I gotta say, the sub, very nice. In this section, it's just like rolling. Oh, I'm loving it. Loudness levels, grand. We have a pretty decent mix down. We also have nice width, nice stereo image. That's good. This is good to see. Some things that could be fixed, could be improved, are the loudness levels in these sections. So like in these breakdown sections, very quiet, doesn't really match what is going on with the rest of the song. You can easily add a compressor, get all this louder, clean up the mud in the low end while doing so. And that would match what's going on here. Very loud over here. It gets like -4. Stays a pretty consistent -4 here, but during these swells at the end, you get like -2 left. So it gets like super loud, aggressively loud, and you really want to turn these swells down and make sure it doesn't get too loud. It really messes up the dynamics. These fake outs are sick. I like those. And also the guns sound cool. You know, in some sections you have it where it's really full, nice mono and wide. Other sections it just sounds wide and you're losing the mono. Definitely check on the stereo image during all gun phrases. And then like towards the end, it really starts to sound repetitive, just like you're throwing in random guns and random phrases. So just start experimenting with different rhythms, different flows, different basses, like sustained basses, and combining those with like slower guns, kind of going back and forth between different types of basses, just so that the listener stays engaged. Otherwise, fire, son. Nice. Good to hear. Good energy. Loud. Alrighty, let's get on to the next one. We have Hollow Point submitting a song that is called Love. Interesting, interesting. Let's go ahead and see what's going down.
I don't wanna let go of your love.
All right, man. I'll point. I don't know, man. I don't know if I should go easy on you here because I think it's really important that you start to tune your ears. I'm not too sure this vocal is in key with all these chords and melodics playing. The vocal sounds very dissonant. It doesn't sound like it fits perfectly into these chords and harmony. Once you meet or once you reach like perfect harmony, don't think about how the vocal is in the song. It feels right, feels natural. And I can't see your Ableton. I don't know if this is pitched to the correct key. I don't know how you transpose it. I don't know where the original vocal is from and if that's even displaying the original key or scale. These are things you need to look into because when she's singing, at the beginning, some of the notes sound key, but then some of the notes sound super off. Like you and when she's singing high, and it's very hard to listen to, honestly. Playing I wanted to stop playing it right here, and she's singing throughout this whole time. So the whole song is full of it. It's really important that you're in perfect harmony. So just double check, make sure. Hit us up in the Discord if you need help with any of that. We got you on that. But during the drop, man, you built a lot of energy, right? And when we get here to the section, we're expecting heavy drop. We're expecting a high energy drop. But this drop is not high energy. Reasons are because the drums are very weak, very like soft kick, very soft snare. Super soft kick. So that is just two things you need to improve right away. Plus the sub, like the low end that you're using, is the respace. What you could do is combine a fat sub with a respace to create very super heavy low end. Separate that. Go ahead and separate all the mids and highs. Use those pads and layer in more pads, more melody, that it sounds fuller and louder and more intense in the drop. And then utilize your sidechain, man. Get dope with the sidechain. Get loud with the snare. Reverb throws to add more space in some of the snares. And that'll make a huge difference. You need to do that because we need to dance. This is dance music. If you're going to have a build up and stuff and try to build intensity, then we got to deliver. Building the tension, deliver with the release. The release of 1,000 truths. You got it though. Keep getting it. All right. So next we got the submission called Poopy. Naturally. Let's go ahead and see who this was. Well, it was Billy. I decided to challenge myself last Saturday. Worked nonstop last Saturday for 12 hours. That's okay, Billy. We got Poopy version 4, so let's get it done. Run this one. That was Billy coming in with some drum and bass named Poopy, version or volume number 4. Okay, so first off, this is pretty cool. I like drum and bass. I like the idea that you're going for. I like this industrial feel, dark vibe that you're going for. I like that. But there are things in the mix sound that we need to fix right away so that this can feel high energy, high intensity, and most importantly, sound clean. So in this section, if you see, when we start to zoom out, it looks like almost a brick. That's because there's too much compression going on. It's being very crowded. A lot of signals are being crowded, sent to the master. So you want to fix these things. It needs to be loud, but also sound clean at the same time. If you look here at Hollow's song up here, it was very loud, and it's getting to the point of almost like too much, but he's able to maintain it. And that's kind of what we need to see here, this song. On top of that, whenever you have your drop playing and it's just constant noise, constant sound, and no breaks, like no fills or silence to go in between, it's tiring on our ears. So we're going to simply add some fills at the end of the phrase or the beginning of the phrase and incorporate silence. The whole concept of going from really loud, silent, back to loud, that dynamic shift that really makes things seem like changing and stays engaging. Just do that. It'll help a lot. In the second drop, lots of reverb is being used, lots of sounds are being played, and you can feel like it's starting to get really crowded in this space. Just make sure you look at all your reverbs, tune them down, tune the decay time down. Make sure that you're not stacking too many reverbs, stacking too many mud frequencies, which are from 100 to 400 hertz. Dip those down with EQs and start to clean up the frequencies during these drops so that you can have it sound a lot cleaner. And then lastly, the timing on this is just very awkward, very weird. You kind of just get thrown in. Everything's going really nice here. You can let this play out, maybe about 2-4 more bars. Let it play out, then go to the drop. Keep some normal timing. Use a reference track if needed to double check how the timing should be on a drum and bass song like this. Otherwise, nice. You got it. Good foundation. Let's get on to the next one. Next is a young wizard. The young god. And his name is nothing less than Lodian. And he's coming in hot with Moav. I think that's how you pronounce it. Every song he makes, I don't know how to pronounce. But that's okay. I'm learning English as we go. Let's get it done.
He's so lonely. He's my company. Dances slowly with me and calms me like the sea. Tells me about his broken dreams. Says he wishes he met me back then. Things were more simple. Things were more. Things were more. Things were over. And all is guarded inside. See now. Things were more.
was nice. Very nice. Loading coming in hot with Moave. Moave, I don't know. That was okay. Really, there's not much that needs to be worked on this. This sounds really close to like amazingness. That outro, by the way, was spectacular. The drop, I think, is off the chain. The thing that I think needs work is really the intro, and the way the vocals sound is just not natural. Now, when I close my eyes, I can imagine where the vocals should start, and it's not perfectly on the downbeats. Maybe like before the downbeat, right? And if you start to warp and move the vocals perfectly on the downbeats, you'll start to have it sound like this, where she's kind of speaking like a robot, like she's speaking unnaturally. Humans don't speak like that, but when we can manipulate it with the computers, they can speak differently. So just make sure you shift the timing and move it so that she's singing on time. Not the easiest thing with vocals, but when we get to the drop, you can start lining up the vocals on the downbeat more, and it makes a lot more sense in these sections. It sounds really good. Okay, sick. So over here, this swell of 1,000 truths, amazing. The use of reverb is really good, and you've almost perfected it. There are some sections though where there's too much reverb and too much swells going on. For example, these mini reverb swells in this section. It goes snare, snare. Like those don't need to be there because there's already been so much space being used in these other sections that it's kind of like begging for it to get more silent, dry in sections. Because remember, if there's too much space, the listener will not stay engaged. You really want to go back and forth between all kinds of space, nothing, back to all kinds. And you've almost done that here. So just make sure you go ahead and do that. Fix those vocals. Everything else sounds amazing. Good loudness levels. We're at -6 for this type of song. That's perfect. Very nice and wide. Well, go fire. Good job. Up next, you have Moon coming in with I Surrender. One.
Moon.
Old Cartoon Network. I don't know. This is cool. All right. The outro I'm talking about. Anyways, that was Moon coming in with I Surrender. And oh my gosh, I gotta say, dude, the intro and the beginning of this is just, it is a hot mess, man. This is not okay today at all. There is no like sense of melody or harmony going on with these like random notes. It sounds like a carnival. It sounds like a really like sounds like some random guy got on a carnival piano at the carnival and he doesn't know how to play piano and he's just randomly hitting the notes, which isn't good at all. You need to stick to a scale, stick to harmony and melody. Use these keys to keep that dark and twisted feeling, but make the notes make sense and use the notes to build tension and energy instead of just randomly playing them. And it's very hard on the ears. You don't want to do that to people. The drop, though, is decent. The second drop has much better flow, though. First drop is really kind of repetitive, not much call and response. If you focus more on call and response, the phrases would flow very well and transition to a point where you just want to keep dancing. Otherwise, when we get to the end here, this is like 32 bars. 16 bars, actually. When we get to the end of the 16 bars, we already want to hear some new sounds. Got to make sure you use call and response and different flows. In the second drop, you use different flows. So basically use these type of techniques in the first drop and you'll be on your way. Wait. Okay. Cool. Up next, got Underground Sound. This is from Name Music. Okay, let's get it done. That was Name coming in with underground sound. All right. So that wasn't bad. I like to hear. I like that this has really nice sound design. Definitely have some flow. Flow gets really good here towards the end too, so that's awesome. Good song structure, right? This you can tell the timing is DJable. Very important. Some things though is like this is like a heavy rhythm track, right? It's not essentially a tear out song. It doesn't need to be this loud. It's actually too loud. The reason it's too loud is because we're hitting negative 1.8 lufs. The loudest tear out songs are like negative 3 lufs, and then regular, very loud rhythm is like negative 5, negative 4 lufs. You definitely want to turn it down. The song's really cool, and I wanted to turn it up, but every time I did, it really hurt my ears, and it's blowing my ears. And if you play this at the club, you're blowing people's ears. You don't want to be respectful. Our ears don't, get better over time. They just get worse. So you can easily tune the compression down. You can visually tell that we're bricking here. So there's over compression. There's too much gain being sent to the master. Use some buses, separate your signals, really start to clean this up so that it can sound professional. Also, during these breakdowns, it becomes extremely like turned down. It's just drums. It sounds very empty. I mean, so you want to make these, more prominent. Even in this section, it sounds a lot different. You do cool things like this, in sections like this. Going from this intense energy, you want to transition well to this breakdown. And this transition is more like just getting thrown into nothingness, which doesn't feel natural. You definitely improve there easily, but otherwise, good. Definitely get people dancing to the club, so make sure they're perfect. I'll make it different. Up next, we got Arlex with what the F do I call this? Question mark. Don't know what the heck you call this, but let's check it out. Maybe I'll give you a name. I named it already. Tuxedo. Go off. Hey, I must say that was pretty decent, dude. I think that's the heaviest thing I've heard from you to date. And honestly, that was pretty intense. Sustain in here with all your guns. Sound design's on point. Definitely have a lot going on here. We got the same issue as last submission though. It's too loud and we're starting to brick and it's just becoming a crowded mess of frequencies. And that's not okay, right? it's really easy to get things really loud and hit -2 LUFS, right? But that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get really loud and clean at the same time. It's not easy to do that. It's hard to do that. That's kind of why Murata got so big so fast, is because he figured out this formula that most people can't figure out. So, if you want to start bussing, start using professional audio engineering techniques, separate your frequencies and compress them and get them mastered in a way that they're loud and clean. Otherwise, you guys are all just going to run into these problems with every track, and the tracks will sound less than impressive. When really, they have so much potential. The sound design you guys have is on point, and the energy levels are on point, but like the mix down is everything. It has to be clean. Clean things up. My latest template video has, I think, in the description, it's just free with the template. You can just download that real quick and kind of see how you can bust things in Ableton, or you can transition that knowledge into Fruity Loops or Logic or whatever you need. Hey, we got Psychedelics with the Visitors demo. Let's get it done.
Please stand by. My fellow Americans, this is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Our demise is approaching. A global crisis is among the human race. Many numerous unidentified aircraft of unknown intent and unknown origin simultaneously appeared at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space. These aircraft are now confirmed to be hostile. I repeat, these aircraft are hostile. Many reports began speculating of attacks of these unidentified aircraft from multiple locations across the globe in what appears to be a coordinated effort of extermination against the human race. Eliminate all ion emitters. United Protocol. These aircraft are also using an unknown type of directed energy weaponry that is believed to emit very harmful radiation in the form of beams, hot enough to instantaneously incinerate anything within the vicinity. These entities are described as being dark with blackened eyes, having scaly skin, standing around 7 feet tall, and communicating in a distinct vocalization of loud knocks and whispering clicks. These aircraft and entities are now believed to be of extraterrestrial origin. Power up the sonic cannon. Target locked. Fire.
Whoa. That is Psychedelics with Visitors demo. Okay, cool. So, this song pretty decent. Nothing too special, really. The reason is because we have some really weird mixed down things going on here. The energy levels just get thrown all over the place. And towards the end, the basses start to sound very repetitive. So you want to make sure that you're not using the same basses over and over and over again. And most importantly, you're thinking of dynamics, right? We have a whole lot of noise and sound going on, but no real silence. Nothing, no fills, nothing to actually go back and forth between the noise and nothing. Because of that, our ears get tired and it's not really danceable. One huge problem is that in the beginning, when these vocals are playing, everything sounds really nice and loud. It's very professional over here. We're pulling in a nice, healthy -5 lefts just in the intro. This is beautiful to see. But as soon as we get to the drop, it just goes all downhill. Instead of it going from -5 lefts to like -5 in the drop or -4 in the drop, we actually went down to -7 lefts, and we go lower in volume during the drop, which is just the opposite of what we want to do. We need to raise in energy and intensity during the drop, and increasing volume and gain is one of the main ways we do that. So you got to fix that right away. You got to make sure that you're paying attention to the stereo field. Your main bass lead, the main bass that's playing throughout this whole drop, is super wide, and it feels like nothing's there. The bass should be in the middle, right? A sub is always in the middle. The mid bass should be in the middle. You should be able to combine that middle signal with that wide signal that you have there. You need both. You need a parallel process that it sounds full and clean. Otherwise, it just sounds very empty, very weak. So you can fix that easily, and then, for heaven's sake, separate your sub and get that sub thick and fat to match the energy and intensity of the basses and this song. You don't want a weak hip hop sub to be playing with this. You want something nice and fat. Okay, up next, we have Kakarot coming in with Dead Space Work in Progress. Let's get it.
Processing log. Supervisor Second Engineer Dallas reporting. This will be my last report. I've seen what they do to the bodies, what they become. I can't let that happen to me. At least if I don't have any limbs, I won't be able to kill anyone when I'm infected. Please tell Dawn and the kids that I love them. You're all awake now. Awake and hungry. Take us home, Isaac. Make us whole. Check this.
Okay, all right. That was Kakarot coming on with Dead Space Work in Progress. Now, loudness levels are good. -4, everything sounding nice and loud. That's what we want. We can kind of hear a pretty clean mix, so that's good. The thing is when we get to the drop, which is the most important part, we're starting to see signs of bricking. You want to just double check your compressors, make sure you're not compressing too much. Make sure you're separating your frequencies if you're going to be going this loud. But one main problem is it really is starting to sound like complextro, which is a genre that used to like just have random basses play all the time. And that's kind of what this sounds like. It sounds like there's a lot of different serum bass patches being played, and they do not fit with each other. they sound different from each other. There's like 8 or 9 or 12 of them. So it just starts to sound weird over time. It's easy to make one bass and then duplicate that bass and then slightly change it to make a variation of that bass. And then all of a sudden you have 2 basses that sound different but are very similar in harmonic structure. And that's kind of what you want to be doing when you're making music like this. You want cohesion. You want things to fit and flow together. Work on that. It'll make a huge difference in the energy and the quality of your drops. Okay, cool. So up next, we got Mipsy. Mipsy is coming in hot. He uploaded a WAV file called Experimenting with Boring and Slow Stuff. With boring, slow, and low stuff. Dang, I butchered that. All right. Doesn't matter. We're getting in it. Look at that. Damn, son. Where'd you find this? Oh my god. That was simply beautiful. Wow. It looks like Mipsy, you have found something very good under your blanket there. You have found the dubstep fairy. And the dubstep fairy has told you you are a fine gentleman with absolute amounts of swagger and dapper. Mipsy, experiment more with boring, slow, and low stuff. This may not be boring to people who are tripping balls on ketamine and ecstasy in the forests, and you serenade them with your bass. As you guys saw, the stereo image was going crazy, and this is just showing like that's what we're feeling. That's what we're hearing. If we're at the festival and we felt that, bro, crazy. Most important thing is super clean mix down. I'm able to turn my audio interface up as much as I want to just get lost in the sound. You're hitting -5 LUFS, which is really loud. I don't hear any signs of mega distortion or anything, so it sounds very clean. Awesome. This is what I love to hear. This is what I love to see. With mix downs like this, you can just make whatever you want. It's going to sound fire. But most importantly, the reason this is sick is because it sounds psychedelic, right? It sounds amazing. And the vocals that you pick at the beginning, like these Indian vocals or Pakistani vocals, whatever, super fire, really sets the mood and adds so much emotion and energy into something that otherwise wouldn't have had emotion and energy without the vocals. Quite grand, sir. Cool. All right, so next we have 2 big dogs that are always in the VC, Lodian and Sabertooth. Work in progress. It looks like they're working on a collab, and let's get it done.
Tell myself I'm whole again. This is the way it's always been. Like a ship into the sunset. Won't you wreck me till it hurts? Won't you rip me from my body? Let me float inside your head.
Okay. That was Lodian and Sabretooth coming in with Work in Progress. I really like to hear vocals in this. I really do. And the vocals bring such a crazy feeling. The vocals sound slow and like ominous and like almost delayed to the point where it's about to be too much delay, but you like kind of hold it in. The timing still feels natural. That's good. Like to hear that. The energy levels and the speed during the buildup and stuff feels right. Feels like we're at 97. But when we hit the drop, it feels weird. It feels like it slows down. And it's hard to figure out why it feels like it slows down. And I think it's because it's starting to feel more halftime. And the reason is because the way the drums and the pattern works. As soon as we drop, we're hearing kick with a sub, like kick, like boom, 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 boom. When really, for this to feel fast and for it to feel like there's speed with it, especially after the double time buildup, we need it to be like kick, kick off, kick off, kick off. That offbeat needs to have something there. Usually like Rez and other like Death Pact, all the mid-tempo bass artists, they always have something prominent in those sections on the offbeat. So you can cut the sub a little bit and go kick, kick, boo, kick, boo. Like just weird. You can use squares or saws and use low pass filters, use the cutoff and like slowly bring it in so it sounds like really dark and ominous. Sick. That's what you need on the offbeats throughout the whole song. It needs to have that energy. The basses also sound pretty wide. It doesn't sound like there's much mono, like there should be something fat in the middle for the basses to match that sub, and then also keep wide basses as well. But man, lots of potential here. Great foundation. This is nice. This is a nice collab, guys. Keep it going. Get it done. Up next, we have Snasta coming in with Die. With 2 E's, not 1 E. This is a special 2E Die. Let's get it done. 1, 2, 3. Snasta coming in fucking hot with Die. Named appropriately. Gosh, that got me heated. That got me hot. That got me super litty. Woo. Okay. One of the main reasons why this sounds so fat is the sub is just in your face fat, right? And to match that sub, we got super sick call and response with the basses. Nice sound design going on. Compared to your last submissions, man, this is improving significantly. And you're almost to the point where you're about to just destroy these dance floors, because if you can make stuff like this with this high energy, it's going to make a difference. People will connect with it. The last thing you need is to get that perfect mix down. Right now, it's a little bit too loud. There's a little bit too much ear-piercing frequencies that are happening during the drop. I really wanted to turn my thing up as much as possible, but I would have blown my ears because there's too many harsh frequencies being played. So your Fletcher Munson curve, dial down some of those really high frequency sustains and mid basses and start to clean things up. Start to bus your frequency separately. You don't really want to show clipping. Showing bricking, I mean, on your buildup. Like when we zoom out, it looks like a complete brick. So you're getting really close to breaking out your whole signal. Make sure that you're getting very loud and clean at the same time. After you unlock those keys, you're going to be on your way, man. Oh yeah, and like in the fills, like you're building a lot of high energy, so add some vocal fills, very deep, dark vocal fills right before the drops, and it'll add much more energy. Keep people dancing hard. Good job, man. Love to hear it. Up next, we have High City Lights Volume 1. Nice cover art. Get it done. show. That was City Lights. All right, that was pretty decent, I must say. Had cool vibes, cool emotion, cool energy, definitely unique. At the beginning, you get brought in really nicely with this filter, and you're brought into a vibe immediately, which is cool. Good. One of the main things, though, is that this melody is being played the same way the whole song, and this song's 3 minutes. When we get to this section, it becomes apparent that we've heard this melody in the same pattern way too many times. If you're using a loop, like you need to start chopping up the loop and learning your scales so that you know how to transpose and pitch things to different notes. You want to be able to like move audio samples like that. The only reason I think you're doing it in audio is because it's playing throughout the whole time. That's what I used to do. If you're writing in MIDI, it's a lot easier to then add an extra note or add an extra chord or do something to add variation. It's very empty in these sections. You can add vocals or something to match the melodic and harmonic content that's being played. You do not want to sound repetitive. In this section, someone could easily just skip to a different song because it's not keeping them engaged. That's important. During these build-ups too, it sounds very empty. There's only like a kick and maybe one snare playing. You want to build energy in these build-ups. You don't want it to sound empty. Oh my gosh, these fills right here, so beautiful. I heard that fill at the beginning in the drop, played it one time, and then I wanted it to play like almost every other fill, but it was never played again. If you brought in that super dope, like lo-fi distorted melodic fill, I think you would do really good to the drop and add a lot of energy over here. So do it more. That'll be good. And lastly, you need to make sure you work on your frequencies. So like when we start to like here, we can fill this up, right? The reason we can fill it is because there's other frequencies that are not competing with it. But when we get to the drop, there's so many sounds being played that the sub gets lost in the mix. So it's important you have a separate sub for your drop that's louder and fatter and thicker, and most importantly, separated very well from the other frequencies so that it lives in its own space. And then on top of that, all the mid basses and high frequencies that are being played are very wide. So you want to make sure that you keep those wide signals, but also keep your mono signals because it sounds like it's too empty and we're missing information almost. Got to make sure things are not too wide. That can cause issues in the club. So fix those things. You'll be on your way to professionalism. Up next, we have ID, and this is from J-Wubs. Let's get it done. Okay, that was J-Wubs coming in with his ID. Okay, so there's a lot of brass being played in this. First off, we're getting nice loudness levels, which is awesome to hear. -5 lefts, things are loud and powerful. That's great foundation. One of the main things, though, that I hear is this sub at the intro sounds like it's an octave higher. So, like, bringing it an octave lower is we're hearing the sub. We're not feeling the sub. The low frequencies are meant to be felt. You know, like when a subwoofer is outside your house, bumping those lows, we feel it through the walls and shit. Like, that's the sub. We're not supposed to hear it. Anyway, that's up right there. Bring it down an octave. Be clean. Then the brass is playing the same riff over and over and over and over again. And then you kind of fake us out with the same riff. It just becomes very repetitive, this brass. If you start to vary the melody, it'll help a lot. And then when we get to the drop, this brass is playing throughout the whole intro, right? So our ears are being almost trained to these frequencies, and we're like getting comfortable with these frequencies. But then when you hit us with the drop, the brass is just gone completely, and then we're introduced with all these new frequencies and all these new sounds that sounds like a complete different contrast. They sound completely different, and they don't transition well. It's important that you bring in some of these brass elements and bring them into the drop so that there's cohesion and the intro sounds like it fits with that drop. It's you're composing a full song, not just a drop, so you got to make sure that everything sounds good together. And then lastly, you want to make sure that your drop is not too mono. It's super mono. We need information to be playing on the wides too. Keep that mono signal, but also introduce wide basses to flow and go back and forth. You'll be able to good flow and work on call and response. You know, we just go straight. We go straight into the dun, dun, dun. That's like the response. We need like you need things to go back and forth with the flow, and you'll be good to go. Up next, we have actually, this is Empiric with Ghost Main. She done.
This is the type of music believed to be responsible for a wave of attacks on churches in Northern Europe. It's overtly anti-Christian and synonymous with satanic worship. This church in Bergen, Norway was burned to the ground.
Nice tear out stuff, and the vocal is a good choice because it brings in so much energy and darkness. It's fire. It's fire. Everything sounds on time with the vocal at the beginning, but then when we get to this section, the timing gets off. Then we like stop dancing to the amazing rhythm and flow that you had before. So it's really important you get things on time in every section of your song. If you just see, we're zooming out and it's bricking like right away. That's crazy. Look, it's just straight brick right there. So that's not good, man. And you can hear this. You can hear it sounds crowded. It sounds like all these frequencies are competing for space. And that's the last thing you want. That's not what Marauda does. He's proven that we can get things loud and super intense with multiple sounds and still keep it clean. So that's what we got to work on. Make sure you separate your frequencies using bussings. Make sure that you're not over compressing your groups or your master or anything. Use minimal compression on your individual tracks and groups and stuff. And to make sure that when your lows are separate, you're adding extra harmonics and getting them to match the energy of all the super loud mid basses that you're playing. Because the low sounds very low volume compared to everything else that's being played. Obviously, we're hitting like -2, so just just tame your levels, tame your lefts, be good to go. Up next, we have Exotic with Mechanoid. Let's get it done, man. Let's go. Pretty cool. That was pretty thick, man. That was different. That was unique, fresh, lots of different rhythms and stuff, and you made it work. You were going from like hard style 4 to the floor kicks, but then you're able to transition it to back to dubstep while keeping a really fast bass. And like it transitions so well. So I'm learning from what you just made here, and I love to see that. I love to hear it. Plus, the mixdown sounded so intense. It didn't sound overly distorted, didn't sound overly crowded. You can still see we're not breaking. We have our dynamics while hitting -4 left, so this is impressive. Good. Mixdown sounds intense. You get lost in the sound, and that's kind of the whole goal. In this section, though, it sounds very empty without the vocal. Like this vocal, you could easily add it in this section, and it'll fill everything out and add that emotion that it's begging for in this section. And then the only other thing that I think really this needs is like this sounds so empty without an offbeat playing. So if you just add something cool on the offbeat, that would make a big difference in keeping it danceable in this section. Otherwise, the whole lead up to the drop is sick, and the drop is awesome. Good job, man. Cool. Unique. I like to hear it. Up next, we got Sock Glock 1.0. Naturally, it is from Crouton with the Sock Glock Tom and Jerry. That's Tom. That's Tommy. Let's go.
Our boyfriends often look at pretty girls while using their phones, so I invented this device. The design is very human. When the camera detects a pretty girl on the phone, it will automatically activate the switch. Very easy to use. Switch. Very human.
All right, man. That's a good idea. I like this. Really like these vocals at the
Our
beginning
boyfriend.
and going into some sick. That's a huge dynamic shift, right? It's like almost on silence. It's only in the mono with the vocals, and then we go into some bangarang, which is sick. I need to start doing that more. Now, when we get to the drop, the main bass lead is sick, but it doesn't sound heavy or loud enough, especially when you compare the loudness to the zaps and the fills. Those zaps and fills are louder than the actual bass lead, which is a big problem. You want to make sure you do some parallel processing, get that bass lead loud and fat to match the energy of that nice sub, and of course your zaps and fills. In this section, you start to switch up the flow. You just definitely need more call and response. Just playing this over and over again can get tiring to the ear very easily. So make sure you do a lot of call and response in all these sections, and it'll be hard. Dope. This is cool.
Human.
All these vocal fills, more of those. Those will add energy. Otherwise, I like this. Good low end. Very nice. That's cool tone. All right, up next, we have Ognier or Ogner with 2-1 2023 M2. If that ain't the best track name I've heard in my life, I don't know what is. Let's go ahead and get in it.
Don't you wanna play? A little fun.
That was 2023 M2. Now it's not too shabby, I must say. There's potential in this track here. There are some things that you definitely want to look into. Now the drop is at -3 left, so this is very loud. When I start to turn it up, it really starts to hurt my ears. Let's say ear-piercing frequencies. During the drop, you could definitely add a Fletcher-Munson curve and tune down those ear-piercing frequencies so that it's easier on the ear while still being heavy at the same time. In the drop too, the sub sounds very low intensity, low volume, especially when compared to all the super loud mid basses. So make sure that you separate your sub, make it very fat and heavy to match everything else. And then if you're going to use like heavy guitars, you definitely want to match this heavy guitar with real metal drums, you know? I don't mean like the sample choice, but like the rhythms, like like super fast. They use double bass to go super fast with their drums, and they use different timing than we could even imagine. So study how drummers play when the guitar's playing so that you match this, because the dubstep drums playing with this guitar just sounds unnatural, and it doesn't add high heavy energy like it could when the guitar is playing. But definitely look into that. That'd be nice. In the second drop, a lot of different basses are being played, so try to make everything sound like it's cohesive. Use one bass and make mini basses out of it instead of having all kinds of different random basses being played. It will make it easier to dance to. That's for sure. Okay, cool. Awesome. That is all the submissions. Thank you guys for tuning in. That is what I'm talking about. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this. All the new submissions will be for next week. If you guys want to enter the Discord to actually see what's going down every day, we're in the voice chats teaching each other and making music. Go ahead and get that done. Otherwise, have a good day. Stay fresh. Keep it real. Peace out. Later.